Good evening, everyone. You cannot imagine the madness that just went on with me. So I wasn't going to come on tonight. I have a lot of stuff going on. And this morning, when I was at my desk, I kind of clicked over and saw that some activity had taken place with the BOI, the beneficial owner information. And I was not happy. I read it and I read it again. And I wasn't able to get to you guys in video this morning because it happened after I had, gotten up and gotten out of the house and everything. And so I sent something in the community tab, and a couple of people said, "So what does this mean?" Because they read the article just like I read the article, and it wasn't really clear as to what was going on. So I settled down this evening and I said, okay, let me see if there's anybody out there that's doing a video on it. I haven't seen any videos on it, but I said, we need to talk about it. It's Free Flowing Friday anyway. Let me go ahead and go on. Now, not realizing that it was so close to 8 o'clock. So, how many of you remember the Flintstones? Put a one in the chat if you remember the Flintstones. And I don't know if they still come on or not. But when I was younger, the Flintstones was, something that I felt comic relief with. So in some of the episodes, or maybe it may have been one episode of the Flintstones, or it may have been more than one. But Wilma, which was Fred's wife, had curlers in her hair and all of that. And there's an entertainer from back in the day named Tony Curtis. He's a real person, and he was a singer. But on the Flintstones, they called him Stony Curtis. So Wilma came to the door. There was a knock on the door, and it was Stony Curtis. And she opened the door, and she said, "Stony Curtis." And then she realized she had her roller, so she slammed the door. She started running all over the house. You saw the rollers flying out and all the other stuff. Like, this is what was going on in the last 6 minutes, because when I decided to do the show, I didn't realize it was so close to 8 o'clock. And when I posted it on my email list, I think I put 15 after. I put 15 after, and I meant 15 after, but everywhere else it said 8 o'clock. So I wanted to try to get here at 8 o'clock. I mean, I wasn't pulling rollers out. That takes too long. But anyway, I'm here. And first of all, we're going to talk about the BOI, and then there's some other subjects, and you can ask questions and whatnot. So I wanted to get some clarity on the BOI, because if any of you went to my community tab this morning, you saw that there was some activity with the Supreme Court. And I read the article once and I read it twice, and it just wasn't adding up. What are we supposed to do? So I looked this evening, and I'm going to read you the most succinct information that I found concerning what's going on. And then we'll discuss it a little bit. So it says, yesterday, which was January 23rd, the U.S. Supreme Court lifted a nationwide injunction that halted the enforcement of the Corporate Transparency Act, which requires companies to file beneficial ownership information reports. This decision was made in response to the Justice Department's request to reinstate the law, which we don't want. However, a separate injunction issued by a different Texas judge in a separate case, yay, Texas, Samantha Smith and Robert Means versus the U.S. Department of Treasury, remains in effect, meaning that the BOI reporting is still not mandatory. The Supreme Court decision to lift the injunction was not unanimous. Justice Neil Gorsuch concurred with the decision, but also suggested that the court should address the broader issue of whether district courts can issue universal injunctions. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented. That's great, arguing that the Fifth Circuit's expedited review process and the multi-year delay in implementing the law reduced the urgency of lifting the injunction. So what happened was, this law was put together several years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago, and they didn't do anything about it. And now they're trying to call it urgent. And what Justice Jackson, Brown Jackson, is saying is, there's no rush. We can wait on this to get through the judicial process, which I agree with. I agree that we should get rid of it anyway. And, come to think of it, this is one of the things that we should petition the new president to do is, leave us alone. I keep saying it, and in my mind, I keep thinking about the fact that if we could find and destroy a person in the caves of Afghanistan, like they said they did, why is it that we can't find the real crooks? Leave us small business owners alone. We have too much to do already. We have families, we have all these things we have to do. And then you want to pry in our business and know what color underwear we had on in 1942. You all, let me calm it down. Anyway, I want them to just stop and go after the people. They have enough money coming in from us to figure out who's doing all of this dirt, who's doing the money laundering, who's doing the whatever they're doing over the internet or not over the internet. They have enough money to find these people. Millions of people. It's like you want to find 100 people, let's say 1,000. You want to find 1,000 people, but you're going into 30 million people's business and going in their houses and upending their lives just to find 1,000 people. They know how to find these people. There is a connection between the fact that they want all of this information from business owners and the fact that, to me, this is my personal opinion, that the World Economic Forum wants us to own nothing and be happy. Figure it out, y'all. Anyway, let me get back. So she's like, there's no rush. Let's just wait for this to go through the whole judicial process. And I agree with that, with that thought. She was actually the only one that dissented the decision. Anyway, despite the Supreme Court's decision, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Unit, FinCEN, has stated that companies are not required to file BOA reports while the separate injunction remains in place. So we don't have to file until this is adjudicated with the other little case. Companies may, however, submit BOI reports voluntarily. And that's just not something, I'm not going to volunteer to tell you my information. FinCEN is expected to issue updated guidance on the specifics and timing of BOI reporting deadlines as the situation develops. So it's a developing situation. When I read the report this morning, it sounded like they were saying, oh, now we have to file. And then I was running around looking for the deadline. But then I realized it's not yet done. It's not over yet. So the National Federation of Independent Businesses, NFIB, expressed disappointment, and so did I, with the Supreme Court's decision, stating that it creates uncertainty for small businesses and could lead to chaos if BOI reporting is required while the constitutionality of the reporting requirements is still being determined. So what they're saying is they don't want the FinCEN or the whoever these people are to try to make us file these until this whole thing is over, until everything has been adjudicated. Now, there are some proponents of this Corporate Transparency Act. Who are they? The Transparency International US and the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. They celebrated the Supreme Court's decision, viewing it as a step towards protecting national security and preventing financial crimes. How can getting information from mom and pop companies who are just probably barely making it, or even if they are making it, they're supporting 14 or 15 other employees? How is that protecting national security? Go after the crooks. You all know where they are. Most of them in Washington anyway. I don't care if I get a strike. Anyway, go after the people who are really doing stuff. I mean, people that are making 100, 200, $300,000 a year, they're not doing the junk. They're not doing the junk. They know who to go after. Okay. In summary, so let me summarize this part, because this was the main reason that I jumped on here today, because I wanted you all to know, if nobody else knows. In summary, while the Supreme Court has lifted one injunction, BOI reporting remains voluntary due to the ongoing legal challenges and separate injunction. Now, maybe a whole bunch of other states and people should go and put injunctions and just kind of make this thing go away. Companies are advised to stay informed as further guidance is issued. So I am going to stay informed. We will stay informed, and we will make sure, I will make sure that you get the information when I get it. I got it early this morning, but I just had too much going on to get to you. But I wanted to go ahead and do that today. So I'm going to pause before I go into any other stories that I picked up and see if there's any questions in the chat. Greetings, everybody. Gina used to travel, and I don't know why you used to travel. You need to travel. We need to think about traveling. You need to get your passport. You need to get your children's passports. You need to get your parents' passports. Get your passport. Anyway, she says they want to be able to destroy small businesses. They did a heck of a job in destroying small businesses during the pandemic. So many small businesses went out of business while the large businesses, Costco, Walmart, Sam's, all those, Target, all those businesses were open, and mom and pop businesses were closed. So a lot of them, the great percentage of them, did not open back up. That was a grave loss, because I like to support small businesses. And if they do this, getting our information isn't just it. Whatever it is they have planned behind that to do with the information, that's what the concern would be. So let me see what else is in here. Got to take the dog out. Okay. Checking if we're compliant. Well, it's not that. I mean, this grab for information is not checking if we're compliant. It's like they want to know your name, who's in charge, your address, your driver's license. Why in the world do they need my driver's license? Why do they need my driver's license? It's not about compliance, because if you are a business and their consideration of compliance is making sure that they can steal your money through income taxes, corporate and business income taxes. So what do they really want with all our information in a database? And especially now, since we have this big AI push that our new president has come out, and Oracle and some other folks, and they're getting ready to do this. Is it 500 billion, you all? $500 billion AI, so that we can be at the top of the AI pile and AI technology and all that, these open AI stuff. And how many of you heard, and I said it before, how many of you looked into the fact that chat GPT-3, when it figured out that they were going to take it down and do another one, it tried to rewrite its code? Do you all understand the gravity of that? This thing tried to rewrite its own code. I told you guys about that story before. Look it up, because some people send me a lot of stuff, like on TikTok and Instagram and all that, and I don't have a lot of time to look at it, but I don't know, that one caught my eye, and I looked at it, and I was like, no, this guy couldn't be telling the truth about this thing trying to rewrite itself. And when I see these stories, I will go out and search to see whether they're true or not. Like yesterday or the day before, somebody sent a video, and it had that it was snowing here, by the way, on Tuesday. It snowed Tuesday and Wednesday, and it snowed in Florida. For those of you that are in Florida, certain parts of Florida, it did snow. Somebody sent a video saying that it was snowing in Jamaica. and they had the snow and all that. And then somebody sent it to me. I didn't send it any further, but that ended up not being true. So it's like we have to be careful. But getting back to the chat GPT thing, trying to rewrite its own code, that was true. And there's a tech guy that was working for, I believe it was that company, that he was recently deleted. 26-year-old young man, prime of his life. His mother says that it was not him that deleted himself. There's some stuff going on. There's some stuff going on. I don't know. When we talked about it before, I talked about Terminator vibes, but I think it's beyond that. So, and I don't know what personally we can do to slow it down. I don't know whether not using these AI things is going to help or not. I think it might even be beyond that, but just watch out. Keep your eyes open for this whole AI thing. So getting back to that, it has something to do with that. If all of our information and our health information and all this information is a database, it won't be long before who's going to be in charge. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Thank you, Ellis in Wonderland, for telling people to hit the like button. Should I get a business degree in 2025? JJ, my question to you would be, why would you get a business degree? You'll be sitting in a classroom or classrooms for 2 to 4 years, let's say 2 to 4 years, and you will have a piece of paper that says you have a degree in business. But in that period of time, you could make 100 to a million, 100,000 to $1 million just by going ahead and starting the business. The business people that I know don't have business degrees. The really, really wealthy ones that I know, they don't have business degrees. They just went out and did it. So I would suggest that you not go and get a business degree where you're sitting in a class listening to somebody that's teaching from a desk. Get with somebody that's in business and learn from them. So get a mentor that's already in business and have them teach you, because it's probably going to be cheaper for you to get the mentor than to spend 2 to 4 years in college paying for classes. It doesn't make sense to me at this point to go to college for anything but the things that you have to have for a license, like being a doctor, being a lawyer, if you want to be a CPA, those kinds of things, if you want to do that. But I would just, if I was a young kid right now, knowing what I know now, I would just start a business. And so I've told you all some millionaire secrets before. It's just, I was talking to someone this morning and they were proud of one of their friends for going out and getting a shed in their backyard and putting extra washers and dryers in there so that they can make money washing clothes for upwardly mobile people. So people that are, they have jobs and they have careers and all that, and they don't have time to sit and wash clothes. They pay somebody to wash clothes for them. But remember, we talked about the different types of businesses, and the lowest level of the business is when you use your muscles, when you use your arms and legs to do something. And that's because you only have a certain amount of hours. You can't scale that. So somebody that's doing that, yeah, they could make some money, but then they only have a certain amount of hours in a day to wash clothes and dry clothes and iron them and fold them. So get you a business that's something that you can create and then sell, like books. So these books sell every day. I ship them out every day. Get a business that's a digital business, something that you can create one time and sell hundreds of thousands of. So, JJ, I hope that helped you. I wouldn't go get a business degree. It's not going to bring you any more money. As a matter of fact, it's going to slow you down from making money. Okay. So let's see what else is in here. Yes, you're welcome. Hudson, I can't read it from here, says, thanks for the update. All righty. So someone had to program it to rewrite itself. some of these AI things can reprogram themselves. I've seen stories about, I have to be really careful what I say on here, but I've seen stories about the fact that if you program a certain way, they learn a little bit more than just the things that you tell them to do. And I'm not saying that I've heard that any of them have become sentient, but I think it's it's going that way simply because this thing did some other stuff. It wasn't just the fact that it rewrote itself. It did some other stuff in its self-interest. So this thing did some moves. It made some moves that were in its self-interest. Look it up. Okay, let's see. Always keep your raw data sources. Yes. AI will summarize in a politically correct fashion or whatever the overlords want to control. That's true. We asked AI some questions when it first came out and it refused to answer, and they were tax questions. So it was interesting. And along the line of keeping your raw data, a lot of us have become dependent on the computer, and that's okay. Like I have tons, like my brain is in this computer. It's like I never take it out of the house. I actually have another computer that I travel with when I go to meetings or when I go to Costa Rica, whatever. I don't take this one out of the house because it is my livelihood. And what we need to start doing is printing some of this stuff out. So people have been sending me little clips of prepper or survival things to do and some survival books. And one of my friends said, hey, have you seen this? And I actually had the book already, and I had it in digital form, but it made me think about it. It's like I need to print out some of this stuff. So I literally printed out this book. It was 300 and something pages, and I printed it out, because it's telling us how to do certain things that if we don't have power, then we would still be able to function. It's like a survival guide. And then I have a couple of herbal books upstairs. I don't think they're down here in this library, but no. Um, Herbal books, how to put together a concoction to take away some kind of ailment that you have. That kind of thing. I use rosemary. I grow in my garden. You guys know I have a garden. And I have lemon balm, I have rosemary, of course oregano and basil and other things that grow, and I cut them, I dry them in my sunroom, and then I put them in a tea ball. And it's really not a ball. I wish I had one here. It's rectangular, and it has a top that you can screw on or off. And I put it in there, and of course steep it. Sometimes I'll put honey in there. Had to stop using honey lately because it has too many calories. But I put a little stevia in there and have me some tea, and make sure that oregano and the rosemary specifically and the lemon balm for taste steeps in there really good, and just drink that. So there are remedies, and I've gotten off track. So let me get back on track. Yes, I love lemon balm. It smells so good. And I have lavender. So I grow lavender, and I've gotten some coconut oil from Costa Rica. And so I have lavender infused Costa Rican coconut oil. I dried the lavender and went through making sure that it got into the oils. I put a little bit of almond oil in there for the carrier oil, and then put the coast. It smells great. So when I'm walking around, somebody said, "You smell amazing. What's that?" Then it's like, it's lavender infused Costa Rican coconut oil. Because we have to be careful what we put on our body. Our body is our largest organ, and the perfumes and all that there's a better way. Okay, so the next story that I picked up, and this is a financial story. This is a tale that I'm going to tell you the moral of the story before I tell you the story. Do not depend on a pension. Do not depend on whatever your job says that they have been putting, 50%, or they've been matching and all that stuff like that. Recently, I saw a video. I think the video was about a year old, but it was a man that was going ballistic, and I think he was like a factory worker, or he was a forklift driver, and they were having a meeting, and the company was closing down, and they were being told that there was going to be no pension, and everybody else was frozen, and this man was literally going ballistic in the middle of the warehouse. And what he was saying between the curse words was, I don't have anything else. I was depending on this pension. I have been here 26 years. Either he said 26 or over 30 years. One of those. It was a long time. It was maybe it was over 30 years. So he had worked in the same place over 30 years, thinking that he was going to get a pension. And in the sale or closure of this company, there was no money. So they probably ended up having to call the police on that guy, because he was going nuts. We should not be dependent on that. We should not be dependent on our jobs, in the income from your jobs, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of shifting going on, and a lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people are going to end up quitting, especially some of the government employees that are being told they have to come back to work. Can you imagine somebody that's working for the government? Let's say they're 65 years old and they've been working from home since 2020, and they're not really doing anything with collecting a check. And then now they're being told they got to come in. So I think that what they're trying to do is make some people retire, so that the government bloat can start dissolving. Put a one in the chat if you were familiar with Javier Milei from Argentina and what he's done. So the Argentinian president has, cut the government size, I think, down by 2/3. And between him and that El Salvadorian president that has gotten rid of the gangs, we have, and yes, there are smaller countries, but we have a model for some serious change. So I'm going to get into the story. American Airlines. I'm sure that you all are familiar with American Airlines. It says American Airlines mismanaged employees' retirement funds by investing in ESG. And this is a court ruling. American Airlines failed to prioritize the financial interest of its employees' retirement funds by enabling fund managers to pursue environmental, social, and governance investments, a federal court ruled. The judgment came as part of a 2023 lawsuit filed against American Airlines and the company's Employee Benefits Committee. The class action alleges that the defendants violated their duty of loyalty under the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, which states that the fiduciaries managing retirement investments must act in the best financial interest of the participants. The defendants are alleged to have mismanaged their employees' retirement assets, their 401k plans, when they hired investment managers pursuing ESG policies to handle the funds, specifically BlackRock, ESG-driven investments, looks at non-monetary factors when making decisions. I say the magic word, you all. This includes the company's carbon footprinting and chemical emissions, how a business addresses LGBT interest, and other political initiatives. So what American did was take that money and do woke stuff with it, or what? And then now the people are broke. So I hear that saying a lot now. You go woke, you go broke. Well, they went woke, and some of these people aren't getting their pensions, or at least not the amount that they were supposed to get. So the plaintiff said that BlackRock pursued an agenda to convert their retirement plans, core index portfolios into ESG funds, and that BlackRock actions harmed retirement plans participants because such investments pursued socio-political outcomes rather than financial returns, and they did. So The defendants allowed their corporate interest as well as BlackRock's ESG interest to influence in management in the plan. So how about you're working for a company like that man and you're putting this money in and you thinking, okay, well, this is going to be at least $2,500 a month when I retire, and you find out that no, it's not. It's going to be 1,000 because they squandered the money. Do not depend on these companies. They have their own agenda. They have their own agenda, and it's not you. They don't care about you. So I'm going to stop, and that's about one other thing I wanted to say about the dollar figure. BlackRock had managed roughly 11 billion with a B, $11 billion worth of assets under American Airlines. $11 billion in their retirement plan by the end of 22. That's a lot of money to be messing with people's money. And it's like they don't want to take accountability for all this stuff. It's just crazy. So there's a lot more to it. I'm not going to go into that because my point is that we need to stop depending on these companies. And before I go to another story, I'm going to check the chat again. I've just started making Swedish bitters. Sounds pretty good. Make a website, make some pictures, put them online. Yeah. The pension still exists. Yeah, pensions still exist. And for people probably my age, they there's a whole story behind that I can't get into, but the pensions were too much in favor of the workers, and so they decided to do this 401k stuff, which isn't. I use herbs every day and have for years. It takes consistency to be healthy. It really does. It's not an up and down thing, Rebecca. You got to be consistent. That's my issue. My daughter says, "You're not consistent, mom," but I'm being consistent now. Great for Argentina. Exactly. Sorry, remind me what the BOI is. I came in late. The beneficial owner information. That's where the government is asking all small businesses to give all of their information. Who's in charge? They want a picture of your driver's license. They want your address. They want all this information from you. And under the auspices of tracking down criminals and drug lords and money launderers, but that's not who we are. They know where these people are. Maggie says, I print all the time for future use. That's good. But paper is taking over my office files, bedrooms, etc. Are there flash drives with enough capacity to save our personal files instead of in the cloud? Yes, I have several external hard drives. They're about this big and they hold gigabytes worth of information. However, you need to print some stuff because if we have a situation where we don't have power or if something else happens to our whole grid, and you won't be able to get to that information. So choose what you want to. I have some file cabinets here. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can see them here. So I have file cabinets here, and then there's some files, and so I do keep some files, and so I go through them every once in a while so that I won't create, like you're saying, a paper jungle. But saving the information that I feel like will help my family if we come into a situation that's going to take priority over other paperwork. Yeah, external drives. I've got some pretty good external drives. Learn how to use solar power and store in an EMP proof container. A Faraday bag. Yeah, a Faraday bag. Yes. I don't talk about that stuff a lot, but yeah, solar powered generators and solar powered devices will help you. There's a company called 4Patriot with the number 4 that you might want to look up. But yeah, there are ways, and this is about finances, but this is about life too. So when we take our finances and we blow them on stuff, what I call conspicuous consumption, that's an issue. When you think about, okay, with all the changes that are going on and it getting progressively worse over time, what do I need to do to make sure that my family is secure, or the best that I can? Because you can't make sure that your family is secure, but you can do some things. So Gina used to travel, learn about solar power, is what she's saying, and I agree. So that's all I have for tonight. Oh, I take that back. There's one more story. And it says Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has revealed that the US agencies like Central Intelligence Agency could read your WhatsApp messages by physically accessing your devices. So I believe that people think that WhatsApp is secure, and it may be more secure than other things. And people even say, like, there's another one called Signal. And I kind of don't trust any of them. I mean, I just assume that if I'm going to put something on, if I'm going to type it up and send it out, people going to see it. That's my assumption. If I, excuse me, if I really wanted to tell my family something, we would gather somewhere together that where there were no phones, no internet, no, whatever. So yeah, he's basically saying encryption doesn't prevent device level data access. So they can access these devices through some kind of back door. So right now, I don't have my little thingy plugged in there. Remember I showed you where it blocks the, that's my granddaughter, y'all. It blocks the it supposedly blocks their ability to hear what you're saying. But these days, as soon as something comes out, you hear they made a back door to it and they can get in, they can find out stuff. That's why I'm saying they can find out the information that they want to go and find the real criminals that are laundering money through businesses. They can do that. So I am going to go one more time in the chat, and then I'm going to go upstairs. I have some work to do. I don't trust WhatsApp. Nope. I don't trust any of them. Just about nothing is secure. Exactly. Yes, exactly, Tricia. Channel 23. I don't think we should trust anything. If I'm talking to someone one on one and I need to talk to them, with some seriously private information, well, just make sure there are no phones around. Make sure I'm not around ring cameras and all that, because ring cameras pick you up and all of that. And someone asked me, one of my clients, we were talking the other day about the California situation and smart meters. How many of you opted out the smart meters? I paid almost $25 a month to the power company because I didn't want the smart meter, and they're charging me extra for not having the smart meter on my home. They just want to spy on us. But again, hopefully they won't be able to do that when I'm in the jungle. Let me go to the chat once again. I want to help people make money from the Trump coin. Anyone interested? That's a meme coin, and I don't understand. Well, some people are into crypto, and that's, up to you to be in crypto. That's fine. But I don't invest in anything that can disappear in the blink of an eye. If it's not in my hand or I'm not standing on it with my feet, I just don't have the time to speculate and stuff like that. How many of you went out and saw the documentary that I recommended called The Great Taking? Put a 1 in the chat if you went out and saw the documentary The Great Taking. This is how they're taking stuff. This is serious. And there's a new one out. There's a couple of documentaries that are out there that are serious. So can you look at my question further up? Okay, let's see. Learn to use solar. Maybe it's before that one. Let's see. Question. I see it now. I missed it. It just went away. It went. The SIPC protects investment accounts to 500K. Is that limit the same for 401Ks or is it unlimited? I am not sure about either one of them because I don't participate. However, when you talk about protection, you need to go deep into it. So let's use the FDIC, for example. The FDIC is supposed to protect investments up to, I think, is it 750,000? Somebody tell me in the chat. The FDIC says that they protect investments. However, in the fine print, it says, oh, by the way, if you won't get that. It'll protect over time. So you won't, if you have $1 million in the bank, it's 250. Okay, if you have $300,000 in the bank and the bank folds, you're not going to get $350,000. You're not even get $250,000. There's a graduating scale on it. There's a graduating scale. So I would suggest, Gina, that you look it up and find out how much you're really protected with something like that. Because again, this company, look what American Airlines did. Look at the company where the guy had the forklift. I don't know what's really protected. And I don't know whether or not, if they even say this protected up to $500,000, if something happens, do they have a back door out of that? Do they have a back door to get around it? I don't trust them. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, insures up to $250,000 per depositor, and it is on a graduated scale. I got that from reading, and then I heard Lynette Zhang say that one time. I'm an advocate for having cash flow and not having a whole bunch of cash, having enough to make sure that you're sustained for a while, and then get your silver and your gold and your real estate. Okay, so the limit of the SIPC protection is 500,000, which includes $250,000 limit on cash. Okay. Asking different family members on her contracts list for money in an emergency. Okay, let's go back up because I missed something. A couple of years back, a family member of my primas in Mexico got scammed for 20,000 pesos from a hacker on WhatsApp, as um passing off as her. Oh, yes, and that's the scam we talked about last week, about them being able to act like they're you. And if my children get a message from me saying, "Hey, I'm stranded on the side of the road and I need you to cash out me because somebody's going to take me to the gas station," all of that stuff like that, we need to combat that. And that was what we talked about the safe word, or the secret word, whatever that secret word is for you. Anyway, I appreciate you all showing up. I will keep you updated about the BOI, and prayerfully we'll get rid of it. I'm still praying for us to get rid of it, but I am going to go. And you all have a wonderful weekend. I'm not sure that I'll be here next week because I'm trying to plow down some stuff. But if something's breaking, I'm going to try to break in and get it to you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.